Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Yate Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic, I am speaking on essential teachings of Lord Buddha. One of the great incarnations born in this world. The world is always dropping from its moral codes, moral values, and it degenerates into utter selfishness, hatred and jealousy. When it is impossible for the people to live upon, God chooses to come to this world to give the message of peace and harmony, how the people should live and adjust. Again and again, the Divine Supreme takes birth on this earth to show through their own life how one should conduct one's life in this earth. Anyway, Lord Buddha was born on May 23rd. Now he was born on Buddha Purnima day, on May 23rd, Monday it was, 563 before Christ. And he attained Nirvana in the period 483 before Christ. That is, he lived for 80 years on this earth. His teachings are very simple and direct. There is no ambiguity, straightforward. Lord Buddha has taught us how one should shape one's life. First of all, we should know, we should admit that we are passing through the state of suffering, and we are in a hopeless and helpless state. We should accept our faults without any reservation, and we must be ready to make efforts sincerely to rise up from this morbid state. So the great masters always inspire us, those who are really aspiring to come out of this fire of suffering. One day, Buddha sat down in the shade of a tree and noticed how beautiful the countryside was. Flowers were blooming and trees were putting on bright new leaves. But among all this beauty, he saw much unhappiness. A farmer wet his ox in the field. A bird pecked at an earthworm, and an eagle swooped down on the bird. Seeing all these things, he deeply felt very much for them and asked, why does the farmer wet his ox? Why must one creature eat another to live? During his enlightenment, Buddha found the answer to these questions. He discovered three great truths. He explained these truths in a simple way so that everyone could understand them. There is no complexity, no confusion. Truth is always simple. Why we are not able to understand the most simple truth? Because we are not simple. That's the reason. The first noble truth, Buddha said, nothing is lost in the universe. Matter turns into energy. Energy turns into matter. A dead leaf turns into soil. A seed sprouts and becomes a new plant. Old solar systems disintegrate and turn into cosmic rays. We are born of our parents. Our children are born of us. We are the same as plants, as trees, as other people. As the rain that falls, we consist of that which is around us. We are the same as everything. If we destroy something around us, we destroy ourselves. If we cheat another, we cheat ourselves. Understanding this truth, Buddha and his disciples never killed any animal. So, nothing is lost in the universe. That is the first noble truth. The second one, everything changes. It is continuously changing. Life is like a river flowing on and on. Ever changing. Sometimes it flows slowly and sometimes swiftly. It is smooth and gentle in some places, but later on snags and rocks crop up out of nowhere. As soon as we think we are safe, something unexpected happens. Once rhinoceros, mammoths and saber-toothed tigers roamed this earth. They all died out. Yet this was not the end of life. Other life forms like smaller mammals appeared, and eventually humans too. Now we can see the earth from space and understand the changes that have taken place on this planet. Our ideas about life also change. People once believed that the world was flat, but now we know that it is round. So everything changes. That is the second law, second noble truth. The third noble truth, law of cause and effect. There are continuous changes due to the law of cause and effect. Nothing happens without reason, without cause. This is the same law of cause and effect found in every modern science textbook. In this way, science and Buddhism are alike. The law of cause and effect is known as karma. Nothing ever happens to us unless we deserve it. We receive exactly what we earn, whether it is good or bad. We are the way we are now due to the things we have done in the past. Our thoughts and actions determine the kind of life we can have. If we do good things, in the future, good things will happen to us. If we do bad things, in the future, bad things will happen to us. Every moment we create new karma by what we say, by what we do, and what we think. If we understand this, we don't need to fear karma. It becomes our friend. It teaches us to create a bright future. Lord Buddha said, the kind of seed sown will produce that kind of fruit. Those who do good will reap good results. Those who do evil reap evil results. If you carefully plant a good seed, you will joyfully gather good fruit. Then, the noble tirthas. Once there was a woman named Kisa Gotami. She had only one firstborn child, but he did not live for long, it died. She was deeply grief-stricken. She roamed the streets carrying the dead body of the child and asking for help to bring her son back to life. A kind and wise man took her to the Buddha. Lord Buddha said, well, do what I say. If you can do that, then I can bring the life back to your son. She was very enthusiastic to follow what Lord Buddha said. Then Buddha said, fetch me a handful of mustard seeds and I will bring your child back to life. Gautami thought it is very simple to bring mustard seed. Nothing can be simpler than this. So she immediately started off to go to get them. But then Buddha added further, look, the seeds must come from a family that has not known death. Gautami went from door to door in the whole village asking for the mustard seeds. No doubt they would bring the mustard seeds, but then they would say, there have been many deaths here. I lost my father, I lost my sister, and so on. She couldn't find a single household that had not been visited by death. Finally, Kisa Gautami returned to the Buddha and said, Oh Lord, there is death in every family. Everyone dies. Now we understand your teaching. Because this awakening could happen by the grace of the great saint Lord Buddha. It was because she came in contact with the great saint. She got purified by looking at him. So she could understand the teaching clearly and she became peaceful. Nobody can avoid death. Death is inevitable. It comes to everyone. So Buddha said, none can escape death and none can escape unhappiness. Everyone will have to pass through some experience of unpleasantness in life. There is not a single individual who has not experienced unpleasantness. If people expect only happiness in life, be sure they will be disappointed. Things are not always the way we want them to be, but we can learn to understand them. When we get sick, what do? We go to a doctor and ask, what's wrong with me? Why am I sick? What will cure me? What do I have to do to get well? So, Buddha is like a good doctor. In our scriptures there is an apt Sanskrit term, Bhavaroga Vaidya. Very apt word. We are all suffering from the disease of worldliness. And this disease can be cured completely only by contacting the doctor who knows very well about this worldly disease. And that is the doctor who has attained enlightenment. First, a good doctor diagnoses the illness. Next, he finds out what has caused it. Then he decides what the cure is. Finally, he prescribes the medicine or gives the treatment that will make the patient well again. So, what the four noble truths what Buddha taught. There is suffering. Suffering is common to all. Cause of suffering, we are the cause of our suffering. End of suffering, stop doing what causes suffering. And lastly, path to end suffering. Everyone can be enlightened. There's a hope. There's a hope for everyone. But one should open up his intellect, open up his mind, and try to cultivate good qualities, good virtues, and reformate the life. Then it's possible. And then one knows how to bear with suffering and how to pass through suffering. In fact, in India we have seen people walking on the fire. It's a fact. People just walk through the fire. So people who have clarity of mind and who have understood this teaching properly, they can walk through the suffering, fire of suffering. They are not afraid of suffering at all. Suffering, everyone suffers from this thing. When we are born, we cry. When we are sick, we are miserable. When old, we will have ache and pains and find it hard to get around. It's called old age ailments. Very lucky people will not have any ailments in the old age. Most lucky people. None of us wants to die. We feel deep sorrow when someone dies. Other things we suffer from, they are being with those we dislike, being apart from those we love, not getting what we want. These are the causes of our suffering. We are the cause of our suffering. There is no need for gods to descend from heavens to inflict suffering. We are responsible for our own suffering. All kinds of problems and disappointments that are unavoidable. Buddha did not deny that there is happiness in life, but he pointed out it does not last forever. Little happiness you will have now and then to keep going their life. Eventually, everyone meets with some kind of suffering. There is happiness in life, happiness in friendship, happiness of a family, happiness in a healthy body and mind. But when one loses them, there is suffering. This is all the teachings of Dhammapada. Buddha explained that people live in a ocean of suffering. Why? Because of ignorance and because of greed, lobha. They are ignorant of the law of karma. I should say they are blissfully ignorant and are greedy for the wrong kind of pleasures. Just like camel eats thorny bushes, Sri Ramakrishna says. Blood oozes out from this mouth, but it is pleasurable to the camel. It keeps on eating the thorny bush in spite of blood oozing out its mouth. They do things that are harmful to their bodies and peace of mind. So they cannot be satisfied or enjoy life. For example, once children have had a taste of candy, they want more. When they can't have it, they get upset. Even if children get all the candy they want, they soon get tired of it and want something else, some change. Although they get a stomach ache from eating too much candy, they still want more. The things people want most cause them the most suffering. Of course, there are basic things that all people should have, like adequate food, shelter and clothing. Everyone deserves a good home, loving parents and good friends. They should enjoy life and cherish their possessions without becoming greedy. To end suffering, one must cut off greed and ignorance. You must aspire for knowledge. You must get rid of greediness. This means changing one's views and living in a more natural and peaceful way. It is like blowing out a candle. The flame of suffering is put out for good. Buddhists call the state in which all suffering is ended nirvana. Nirvana is the state of the end of suffering, the experience of bliss. What we call in our Upanishads Brahmagyan. Once a person attains Brahmagyan, he is full of bliss. full of peace. Ramana Maharshi had that experience, Brahmagyan. Always cheerful, peaceful. Sri Ramakrishna had that experience. Always peaceful, cheerful. Holy Mother Sharda Devi had that experience. Always peaceful, calm and quiet. In spite of most troubled situations, she never perturbed herself. Buddha said, the extinction of desire is nirvana. It is an everlasting state of great joy and peace. This is the ultimate goal in Buddhism. Everyone can realize it with the help of the Buddha's teachings. And it can be experienced in this very life. What Shankaracharya says, Jivan Mukti. And Buddhism also says one can have that experience in this very life. Having that experience in this very life is the greatest joy. So Jivan Mukti is the highest state. And it is possible to attain that state in this mortal body. So the path to end suffering is known as the Noble Eightfold Path, also called as middle path, Madhyapanthi. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya, Yukta chestasya karmasu, Yukta swabhnava bhodasya, Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. One who is moderate in everything, eating, drinking, sleeping, action. Yoga is for him. Not one who is hyperactive, not for one who eats too much, not for one who sleeps too much and who eats too much, who does activity too much. Yoga is far, far away from it. So when the Buddha gave this first sermon in the deer park, he began the turning of the Dharma wheel, Dharma Chakra. He chose the beautiful symbol of the wheel with its 8 spokes to represent the Noble Eightfold Path. Buddha's teaching goes round and round like a great wheel that never stops, leading to the central point of the wheel, the only point which is fixed, Nirvana. The 8 spokes on the wheel represent the 8 parts of the Noble Eightfold Path. Just as every spoke is needed for the wheel to keep turning, we need to follow each step of the path. The first step is right view. The right way to think about life is to see the world through the eyes of the Buddha with wisdom and compassion. Secondly, right thought. We are what we think. Clear and kind thoughts build good, strong characters. Right speech. By speaking kind and helpful words, we are respected and trusted by everyone. Fourth, right conduct. No matter what we say, others know us from the way we behave. Before we criticize others, we should first see what we do ourselves. Right livelihood. This means choosing a job that does not hurt others. Buddha said, do not earn your living by harming others. Do not seek happiness by making others unhappy. Number 6, right effort. A worthwhile life means doing our best at all times and having good will toward others. This also means not wasting effort on things that harm us and others. 7 is right mindfulness. This means bringing aware of our thoughts, words and deeds. The last one is right concentration. Focus on one thought or object at a time. By doing this, we can be quiet and attain true peace of mind. Following the Noble Eightfold Path can be compared to cultivating a garden. But in Buddhism, one cultivates one's wisdom. The mind is the ground and thoughts are seeds. Deeds are ways and cares for the garden. Our faults are weeds. Faults, they are weeds. Pulling them out is like weeding a garden. The harvest is real and lasting happiness. Buddha spoke the Four Noble Truths and many other teachings. But at the heart, they all stress the same thing. An ancient story explains this very well. Once a very old king went to see an old hermit who lived in a bird's nest in the top of a tree. What is the most important Buddhist teaching? The hermit answered, do no evil, do only good, purify your heart. The king had expected to hear a very long explanation. He protested. But even a 5-year-old child can understand that. Yes, replied the wise sage, but even an 80-year-old man cannot do it. Then, the triple jewel. Buddha knew it would be difficult for people to follow his teachings on their own. So he established the 3 refuges for them to rely on. If a person wants to become a Buddhist, that is to become enlightened, to become awakened, he should take refuge in and rely on the Buddha, then the Dharma, and then the Sangha. These are known as the triple jewel. The Sangha are the monks and nuns, where they live completely spiritual life. They live in monasteries and carry on the Buddha's teachings. The word Sangha means harmonious community. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha together possess qualities that are precious like jewels and can lead one to enlightenment. A refuge is a place to go for safety and protection, like a shelter in a storm. Taking refuge does not mean running away from life. It means living life in a fuller, truer way. Taking refuge is also like a man traveling for the first time to a distant city. He will need a guide to show him which path to follow and some traveling companions to help him along the way. So, the Buddha is the guide, the Dharma is the path, the Sangha are the teachers or companions along the way. They are the teachers, Sangha. There is a special ceremony for taking refuge with the triple jewel. With a sincere mind, one recites the following verse in front of an ordained monk or nun. First he says, I go to the Buddha for refuge. I go to the Dharma for refuge. I go to the Sangha for refuge. For a Buddhist, taking refuge is the first step on the path to enlightenment. Even if enlightenment is not achieved in this life, one has a better chance to become enlightened in the future life. One who takes the precepts is called a lay person. 5 precepts are there. All religions have some basic rules that define what is good conduct and what kind of conduct should be avoided. In Buddhism, the most important rules are the Five Precepts. They have been passed down from the Buddha himself. One is no killing, respect for life. Second, no stealing, respect for others' property. Third, no sexual misconduct, respect for our pure nature. Fourth, no lying, respect for honesty. 5, no intoxicants, respect for a clear mind. So, these are the 5 precepts. No killing, that's the first precept Lord Buddha taught. Respect for life. Life is dear to all beings. They have the right to live the same as we do. We should respect all life and not kill anything. Killing ants and mosquitoes is also breaking this respect, is breaking this precept. We should have an attitude of loving kindness toward all beings, wishing them to be happy and free from harm. Taking care of the earth, its rivers and air is included. One way that many Buddhists follow this respect is by being vegetarian. Whether they will be able to follow this first precept, not killing, to the maximum extent. Second one is no stealing. If we steal from another, we steal from ourselves. Instead, we should learn to give and take care of things that belong to our family, to the school, or to the public. No sexual misconduct. Proper conduct shows respect for oneself and others. Our bodies are gifts from our parents, so we should protect them from harm. Young people should especially keep their natures pure and develop their virtue. It is up to them to make the world a better place to live. In happy families, the husband and wife both respect each other. If you take the example of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, how they have shown the ideal. Mother used to say, Sri Ramakrishna did not even touch me, did not beat me even with a flower. And in the company of Sri Ramakrishna, she was in a state of highest purity and perfection. She experienced immense happiness and bliss. No lying. Being honest brings peace into the world. When there is a misunderstanding, the best thing is to talk it over. This precept includes no gossip, no backbiting, no harsh words, and no idle speech. The last one is no intoxicants. It is based on keeping a clear mind and a healthy body. One day, when the Buddha was speaking the Dharma for the assembly, a young drunkard staggered into the room. He tripped over some monks who were sitting on the floor and started cursing loudly. His breath reeked of alcohol and filled the air with a sickening stench. Mumbling to himself, he reeled out the door. Everyone was astonished at his rude behavior, but the Buddha remained calm. Then Buddha said, "Take a look at this man. He will certainly lose his wealth and good name. His body will grow weak and sick. It becomes sick. Day and night he will quarrel with his family and friends until they abandon him. The worst thing is that he will lose his wisdom and he will become stupid. Little by little, one can learn to follow these precepts. If one sometimes forgets them, one can start all over again. Following the precepts is a lifetime job. If one kills or hurts someone's feelings by mistake, that is breaking the precepts. But it was not done on purpose. Buddhists do not believe that death is the end of life. When one dies, one's consciousness leaves and enters one of the 6 paths of rebirth. One is heavenly beings. There is one path. Another path is humans. The third path is asuras. They are beings who have many good things in life but still like to fight. They are called as asuras. And fourth path is animals. Fifth path is hungry ghosts who suffer from constant hunger. And sixth one is hell beings. These are the 6 states on the wheel of life. At the top are the heavens, where everyone is happy. Below are the hells, where the suffering is unbearable. Beings can rise or fall from one path to another. If one does good deeds, one will be born into the paths of gods, humans or asuras. If one does evil deeds, one will be born into the paths of animals, hungry ghosts or hell beings. From one life to the next, one can suddenly change from a human to an animal or from a ghost to a hell being according to the things one has done. So the same thing is said in Yoga Sutras also. Patanjali Yoga Sutras also it is said. One cannot escape one's own deeds. So you will have to pass through various births in order to undo what he has done. So in this life you may be born as a human being. In your next life you may be born like a python, like a snake or a tiger or a jackal, depending upon what way you have conducted your life in this life. How to escape the turning wheel? The wheel of life and death is kept turning by the 3 poisons of greed, hatred and stupidity. By cutting off the 3 poisons, we can escape the wheel and become enlightened. There are 4 stages of enlightenment. Buddhas perfect in enlightenment. Bodhisattvas enlighten themselves as well as others. Pratyeka Buddhas, hermits who retreat from the world to enlighten themselves. Arhats who enlighten themselves are called arhats. So Buddha had a special quality of conveying his teachings through number of stories. He was a great storyteller. And often he would tell stories to get his message across. So, one of the stories he has mentioned, the Monkey King and the mangoes. Once upon a time, Buddha came into the world as a monkey king and ruled over a large group of monkeys, several thousand monkeys. He was the head of those monkeys. He was very tall and strong and had a wisdom like the sun. In his kingdom on the banks of the Ganges river, there was a mango tree as big as the moon. The several thousand monkeys jumped from one branch to another branch eating the lovely fruit that was big and sweet and delicious. Sometimes a ripe mango fell into the river. One day, the Monkey King strolled downstream and came upon a river palace where a human king lived. Soon danger will come if the mangoes float downstream, he told the monkeys. Pick all the mangoes and flowers on the trees and take them deep into the forest. But one mango, hidden by a bird's nest, was left unseen by the several monkeys. When it was large and ripe, it fell into the river and floated downstream where the human king was bathing. The human king, who was very curious, tasted the beautiful mango. He exclaimed, very delicious. So he ordered the servants to bring more mangoes to him at once. Deep in the forest, the servants found hundreds of mango trees. In the trees were several thousand monkeys. So they chased the monkeys to the edge of the forest, where they came to a deep cliff. There was no way for the monkeys to escape. Shivering with fright, they ran to the Monkey King and asked, what shall we do? The Monkey King said, don't be afraid, I will save you. He was very huge. He stretched his huge body as far as possible and made a bridge over the cliff to a bamboo grove on the other side. Then he ordered the monkeys, come along, run across my back to the bamboo grove. So all the monkeys escaped. The human king watched all this. He was amazed. This Monkey King has risked his life to save his whole troop. And what I am doing, it's all selfish. I have learned a great lesson. Then he called to his archers, put down your bows. It is not right to kill this king of monkeys. Forgetting about the mangoes, the human king went back to his palace by the river and ruled kindly and wisely for the rest of his life. Another story told by Buddha. Long ago, in a forgotten forest, there lived a deer named Banyan. The deer was golden like the sun, and his horns glistened like silver. His body was as large as a colt, and his eyes sparkled like jewels alight with wisdom. He was a king of deer and watched over a herd of 500 deer. Not far away, another herd of deer was watched over by another golden deer named Branch. In the tall grass and shadows of the deep forest, the two herds lived in peace. One day, the king of Benares was out on a hunt and spied the beautiful green forest where the deer lived. What a perfect hunting ground, he declared. And into the forest he dashed with his thousands of hunters and came upon the two herds of deer. Without a moment's hesitation, he notched an arrow in his bow. Suddenly he spotted the two golden deer. Never had he seen such beautiful creatures. From this day on, he commanded, no one is to harm or kill this golden deer. Thereafter, he came to the forest every day and killed more deer than was needed for his dinner table. As the weeks went by, many deer were wounded and died in great pain. Finally, Banyan deer called the two herds together. Friends, we know there is no escape from death, but this needless killing can be prevented. Let the deer take turns going to the chopping block, one day from my herd and the next day from Branch's herd. All the deer agreed. Each day, the deer whose turn it was went to the chopping block on the edge of the forest and laid its head upon the block. One day the turn fell to a pregnant doe from Branch's herd. She went to Branch deer and begged, "Grant that I be passed over until after my fawn is born. Then I will gladly take my turn." Branch deer replied, "It's your turn, you must go." In despair, the poor doe went to the banyan deer and explained her plight. He gently said, "Go, rest in peace. I will put your turn upon another." The deer king went and laid his golden head upon the chopping block. A deep silence fell in the forest. When the king of Benares came and saw the golden deer ready for sacrifice, his heart skipped a bit. "You are the leader of the herd?" he exclaimed. "You should be last to die." Banyan deer explained how he had come to save the life of the doe. A tear rolled down the cheek of the king. "Golden deer king," he exclaimed, "among men and beasts, I have not seen one with such compassion. Arise, I spare both your life and hers. So we will be safe. But what shall the rest of the deer do? Their lives I shall also spare. So the deer will be safe, but what will the other four-footed animals do? From now on, they too will be safe. And what of the birds? I will spare their lives also. And the fish in the water, the fish shall be spared. All creatures of the land, sea and sky will be free. Having saved the lives of all creatures, the golden deer raised his head from the chopping block and returned to the forest. There is another story told by Buddha, the wounded swan. These are all famous stories you find in the biography of Buddha. One day when Prince Siddhartha and his cousin Devadatta were walking in the woods, they saw a swan. Quickly Devadatta drew his bow and shot the swan down. Siddhartha rushed to the wounded swan and pulled out the arrow. He held the bird in his arms and caressed it. Devadatta became very angry and shouted at Prince Siddhartha, "Give me the swan. I shot it. It belongs to me. I shall never give it to you. You will only kill it," said the prince firmly. "Let us ask the ministers of the court and let them decide." The ministers all had different views. Some said the swan should be given to Devadatta. Others said it should go to Prince Siddhartha. There was one wise minister among them. He said, "A life belongs to one who saves it, not to one who will destroy it. The swan goes to the prince because he saved it." Prince Siddhartha took care of the swan until it could fly again. Then he turned it loose so it could live freely with its own kind. Once there was a poor farmer who offered his only bowl of rice to a holy man who was even poorer than he. This meant he would have nothing to eat that day. He went back to his work and forgot all about having given his rice away. Suddenly a rabbit hopped alongside the farmer and jumped on his back. The surprised farmer tried to brush it off. He tried to shake it off, He tried to knock it off, but the rabbit would not budge. He ran home to his wife, crying, "Get this rabbit off my back." By this time the rabbit had turned into solid gold. The wife flipped the rabbit into the air. It hit the floor with a crack. One of its golden legs broke off, and another one magically grew in its place. From that day on, whenever the farmer and his wife needed money, they would break off a piece of the golden rabbit. And from that life onward, Aniruddha was never poor. This was his reward for giving. Samsara and Nirvana. Look about and contemplate life. Everything is transient and nothing endures. There is birth and death, growth and decay. There is combination and separation. The glory of the world is like a flower. It stands in full bloom in the morning and fades in the heat of the day. Wherever you look, there is a rushing and struggling and an eager to pursuit of pleasure. There is a panic flight from pain and death, and hot are the flames of burning desires. The world is Vanity Fair, full of changes and transformations. All is samsara, the turning wheel of existence. Is there anything permanent in this world? Is there in the universal turmoil no resting place where our troubled heart can find peace? Is there nothing everlasting, or that we could have cessation of anxiety, that our burning desires would be extinguished? When shall the mind become tranquil and composed? The Buddha, our Lord, was grieved at the ills of life. He saw the vanity of worldly happiness and sought salvation in the one thing that will not fade or perish, but will abide forever and ever. You who long for life, learn that immortality is hidden in transience. You who wish for happiness without the sting of regret, lead a life of righteousness. You who yearn for riches, receive treasures that are eternal. Truth is wealth, and the life of truth is happiness. All compounds will be dissolved again, but the varieties which determine all combinations and separations as laws of nature endure forever. Bodies fall to dust, but the truths of the mind will not be destroyed. Truth knows neither birth nor death. It has no beginning and no end. Welcome the truth. The truth is the immortal part of mind. Establish the truth in our mind, for the truth is the image of the eternal. It portrays the immutable. It reveals the everlasting. The truth gives unto mortals the boon of immortality. The Buddha has proclaimed the truth. Let the truth of the Buddha dwell in our hearts. Extinguish in yourselves every desire that antagonizes the Buddha, and in the perfection of your spiritual growth you will become like unto him. That of your heart which cannot or will not develop into Buddha must perish, for it is mere illusion and unreal. It is the source of your error. It is the cause of your misery. You attain to immortality by filling your minds with truth. Therefore, become like unto vessels fit to receive the Master's words. Cleanse yourselves of evil and sanctify your lives. There is no other way of reaching truth. Learn to distinguish between the self and the truth. Self is the call of selfishness and the source of evil. Truth cleaves to no self. It is universal and leads to justice and righteousness. Self, that which seems to those who love their self as a being, is not the eternal, the everlasting, the imperishable. Seek not self, but seek the truth. If we liberate our souls from our petty selves, wish no ill to others, and become clear as a crystal diamond, reflecting the light of truth, What a radiant picture will appear in us, mirroring things as they are, without the admixture of burning desires, without the distortion of erroneous illusion, without the agitation of clinging and unrest. Yes, yet you love self and will not abandon self-love. So be it, but then verily you should learn to distinguish between the false self and the true self. The ego, with all its egotism, is a false self. It is an unreal illusion and a perishable combination. He only who identifies his self with the truth will attain nirvana. And he who has entered nirvana has attained Buddhahood. He has acquired the highest good. He has become the eternal and immortal. All compound things shall be dissolved again. Worlds will break to pieces and our individualities will be scattered, but the words of Buddha will remain forever. The extinction of self is salvation. The annihilation of self is the condition of enlightenment. The blotting of self is nirvana. Happy is he who has ceased to live for pleasure and rests in the truth. Verily, his composure and tranquility of mind are the highest bliss. Let us take our refuge in Buddha, for he has found the everlasting in the transcendent. Let us take our refuge in that which is the immutable in the changes of existence. Let us take our refuge in the truth that is established through enlightenment of the Buddha. Let us take our refuge in the community of those who seek the truth and endeavor to live in the truth. So, if we clearly follow Buddha's teachings and conduct our life accordingly, surely we will have peace of mind and also enjoy real happiness in this life. Lord Buddha has given a lot of teachings. One can study them in the Gospel of Buddha, and lots of stories, Jataka tales are given there. Every story has got its moral, and it gives spiritual education to everyone, and that is what is needed. Without spiritual knowledge, you can't have the experience of real happiness. One can surely get rid of his negative qualities only through spiritual education. And that spiritual education is given to us by the great masters. And Lord Buddha has given most wonderful teachings, most wonderful lessons. And that is true spiritual education, what we need today. Thank you very much. And we have got Platinum Jubilee coming up in last weekend of June 2005. About 13 Swamis are participating in this program. And Swami Pramayanandaji from Belur, India will be our chief guest. And all the Swamijis from New York, San Francisco, Berkeley, St. Louis, Sacramento, Portland, Boston, Providence, Washington, they are all participating in this program. So it's a great occasion for you to meet all the Swamis and learn more about Vedanta. So please register your names for this program also. This program will be held in Ganges, June 24, 25, 26, 2005. And in the month of August we have a children camp coming up. Every year we are doing. This year August 7, from August 7 to succeeding Sunday, August 14th. Full 1 week children camp will be held in Ganges. So details you can get through our office. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us, may He nourish us. May our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.